Shalom, family. Shalom. All right, we are back for another live stream. And this time we're going to talk about the world's food supply. And actually, it's extreme weather that's taking out a lot of the crops and food that's being grown worldwide. All right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started. Okay, so this is Bloomberg Green, July 24th, 2021. World's food supplies get slammed by drought, floods, and frost. So just all natural disasters. And I showed some of the burnt up crops out there in Oregon because they are getting hit with all the heat waves. A lot of those farmers are losing their entire crops. All right. Extreme weather is slamming crops across the globe, bringing with it the threat of further food inflation. At the time, costs already hovering near its highest in a decade, and hunger is on the rise. I am not surprised. And they're right. The food prices are going through the roof. I don't know if any of you have done some shopping recently. Everything is very inflated in your supermarket. Brazil's worst frost in 2 decades brought a deadly blow to young coffee trees in the world's biggest grower. Flooding in China, key pork region, inundated farms and raised the threat of animal disease. Scorching heat and drought crushed crops on both the east, the U.S., the West, Canada border, and in Europe. Torrential rains have sparked the risk of fungal disease in grains and stalled tractors in soaking fields. So it is just disasters everywhere on this globe that is impacting the food. Coffee, the biggest recent mover, with prices surging 17% this week and topping $2 a pound for the first time since 2014. But the recent frost in Brazil is just the latest example of woes that have struck farmers there this year. Brazil also experienced a crippling drought that depleted reservoirs needed for irrigation. The series of misfortunes underscore what scientists have been warning about for years: climate change and its associated weather volatility will make it increasingly harder to produce enough food for the world, with its poorest nations typically feeling the hardest blow. In some cases, social and political unrest follows. Things that are happening in one part of the world end up impacting all of us. United Nations Special Envoy for 2021 Food Systems Summit and Rwanda's former agriculture minister. We have underestimated as the world is just how frequently weather would start to have serious impacts. Some communities are already living through the nightmares of climate change. The Food Index from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization rose for 12 consecutive months through May before easing in June to 124.6 points, still up 34% from a year earlier. The index measures international prices for a basket of food commodities. No other industry is more at the mercy of sun, rain, and heat than agriculture, where changes in the weather can upend a farmer's fortune overnight. It's also an industry that's become extremely globalized and concentrated, creating a precarious situation where an extreme weather event in one place is bound to have ripples everywhere. Brazil, for example, the world's biggest shipper of sugar and orange juice, and a key producer of corn and soybeans. It accounts for about 40% of the world's harvest. So they account for 40% of the world's harvest in coffee. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I would imagine, look, like I said to you before, everybody's going to have Starbucks prices now out here for this coffee. We were all talking about how high Starbucks was. You don't go there. They cost too much damn money. And now look like everybody's going to start looking like Starbucks around here with the inflation. There are no other countries in the world that has that kind of influence. Yeah, see, relying on one country, and now their coffee for this year is completely messed up, and they won't have enough to go around. What's unique right now is that extreme weather seems to be pounding almost every region of the globe. Scorching North America, the dry conditions in Canada, coupled with record breaking heat, triggered hundreds of wildfires, with blazes spanning east across 5 provinces and nearly as far as north as the Arctic Ocean and Yukon and Northwest Territories. Fires have been so treacherous in the westernmost British Columbia that thousands of rail cars carrying grain for export have been idle for weeks. The drought is also withering crops in Canada's breadbasket prairie provinces and in the northern US, forcing farmers to take the rare step of baling up their low yield wheat and barley stems to sell as livestock feed. So they can't even sell it to people because the crops have done so poorly. So they're just taking what they have and selling it as livestock feed. Wow. Woo. They didn't get what they wanted this year, huh? Prices for the region, spring wheat, the variety used to make flour for bagels and pizza crusts, recently touched the highest in more than 8 years. Even fresh shellfish from Pacific Northwest has fallen victim to the extreme heat and its impact on marine life. Frosty Brazil. Severe frost has ravished their so the coffee crops, the young trees, that would create a greater loss for farmers and hurt production for years. They said this 1 year of a poor coffee crop will have a rippling effect for years. Wow. I tell you what, the Most High can do a lot of damage with this weather, for real. Flooded China. Flooding in central Chinese province, Henan, a hub for agriculture and food production, appears contained for now, but is closely watched for any sign of more serious disruption. While some hog farms and corn crops were battered by recent heavy rains, most production located away from the hardest hit region. Big worry is the potential spread of animal disease, including African swine fever, which China has been recovering from after a devastating outbreak in 2018 that wiped out almost half of its hog herd. The nation's agriculture ministry on Friday warned about the growing risk of animal epidemics after the Henan disaster, saying diseases could spread from dead animals as well as via contaminated soil and water. Local authorities were urged to retrieve carcasses from lakes and rivers, disinfect breeding pens more frequently, and strictly prohibit the sale and processing of dead animals. Soggy Europe. Dramatic images of inundated towns in Germany and Belgium this month are adding to a wetter than usual summer across much of Europe. Rain has taken its toll on grain, leading to harvest delays that follows a spring of frost, which damaged crops from sugar beets to fruit trees and devastated some vineyards in France and elsewhere. While Europe wheat output is actually expected to increase this year, a share of the harvest may end up switching from milling for bread products to feeding farm animals instead. That threatens shipment to North America, which relies on import of high quality grain. So, y'all, look, be prepared, because these natural disasters are not going to stop coming. And as you can see, every part of the world is being impacted, and crops out here worldwide are suffering. And I was looking at a store, and I believe it was over in France, and the shelves were empty in this grocery store. It was a few items in there, but a lot of the shelf where you would normally see a lot of groceries and produce and everything, it was damn near empty in the store. And they said it's already being seen all across the world. So if you can stock up, especially if you have room or you can make room at your house for the extra food and groceries. And you definitely want to get non-perishables, because you don't know what's going to happen. Stock up on them dry beans, anything that you can soak, and it doesn't require you doing anything but storing the dry beans. So you definitely want to stock up on that. Wow. Boy, I mean, just look at this. It's all happening simultaneously all around the globe. This judgment that they're under ain't no joke. Thank you, Loveline, for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I mean, this is no joke. Thank you, Justin March, for the super sticker. You see what's happening. And see, these are all things they can't do a damn thing about it. They can't do nothing about the weather. They can't do a thing about it, y'all. It just seems like when it comes down to 2021, it seems like when Texas got hit with that winter storm, it just had a domino effect on everything else. It's just been so many disasters. And, we don't have the hazy skies anymore, but for almost a week, we had the hazy skies from the fires going on the West Coast. And I was reading on the West Coast, a lot of the crops burnt up in the fires that's going on over there. So there's a lot of crop loss. So I mean, this judgment is no joke. The Most High, he's not playing. He is really turning the weather up on them for real. And ladies and gentlemen, you notice how different America feels now compared to the way it felt in 2019. It don't even feel the same when you wake up every day. America has a whole different feel to it now. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it just feels like everything, even on a spiritual level, is completely different in this country. Even listening to Joe Biden, listening to him is very different from when you were listening to previous presidents. It's almost like, okay, you said this, and why is that important? But I will never forget that town hall meeting where he was literally not answering any questions last week. That was kind of funny. I was like, either he's off his meds or maybe he's getting drugs from Hunter. I don't know. That was weird. Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, things are definitely different. You can just literally feel how different America is, and they don't quite know what to do. It's really nothing they can do. This is going to happen. I mean, we're getting ready to go through the changing of the guard. There is really literally nothing they can do about it, no more than they can do anything about all these worldwide disasters that's impacting the food supply. Hmm. So, everybody, I'm not going to keep you long. Thank you so much for coming. And y'all will definitely do this again, with other stories. I sure hope you enjoyed the live streams today. That's really important that you enjoy what you're watching. And, be sure to put your comments out there too. That's equally as important. So, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see what I can dig up for tomorrow. Shalom, family.